And good morning, Sai.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. Good to see you, and happy Monday to you. Uh,
Likewise. Always a pleasure with you, man.
likewise. We're off to the races here for another Catalyzing the Future announcement. I think do you want to do the honors of sort of introducing the idea and what we have going on here?
I will leave that to you. You've got a much better voice than I'll put it that way.
I doubt that very much, but I'm happy to talk about it. The purpose for today's live stream broadcast is that we're continuing along the lines of the original vision for the Catalyzing the Future event that was held on September the 30th of this year, which was, as you may know, if you've been following us, an ongoing series of events, conversations, an ecosystem of conversations, if you will, about how we can live better everyday lives by applying, a series of principles. You help me out here, Sai. I think that we wanted to make sure that we're creating solutions that are human powered and society embracing.
Yep.
And technology enabled and
Yep.
business focused.
You got it.
All right. I probably got them in the wrong order, but I don't know if there's a right order to them. In any case, the next event that we're looking forward to, and both Sai and I have been working hard on this, and we're excited to announce it, is the micro workshops. And if you've been with us along this journey, you know that we wanted to be associated with this September 30th event that we did, that was about opening these discussions and having great ideas and insights. We wanted to have a series of micro workshops, which would be a practical implementation of these ideas. And so we've put it together. In fact, we've compressed all of these learning opportunities into a single day on December the 9th, which I believe is a Wednesday, Sai.
Yep.
We're going to have a day of training opportunities. So each of these micro workshops, which is about 90 minutes in duration, they're going to be held in 3 different simultaneous streams through the day. So you can sign up for a single workshop, maybe in track 1 and another one in track 3, provided they don't overlap in time. You can participate in both, or multiples, maybe all 3 even. And it's going to be amazing. I think we've got a lot that are scheduled that I think are going to be very, very useful and practical going forward. And I don't know, Sai, I've been talking a lot. Is there something you'd like to add about them?
All good. Definitely. I'd love to walk through them. The backdrop, the journey has been interesting, right, throughout the year, and we've really experienced a narrative all the way from leading to transcending to catalyzing, for impact. So it's been forthcoming, and I appreciate you using the word vision. I think if someone were to ask, right, what is the vision initially, I think we would have said, hey, we're still at the beginning. We're formulating it as we go, and here we are. So, the big keywords, the big pillars, if I can, Todd, is really, it's practical, it's actionable, and it's impactful. I mean, those are the overarching elements that have brought us up to this point.
And yeah, thank you for that, Sai, because I think that's what's stood out for me, and why I've volunteered time and effort for this and related events is it is that practical usefulness of the ideas that that come out of this. We've been fairly ruthless about pressing our participants who've been involved with the event since the beginning to how does this change my workday? How does this change my everyday life? How does this change my attitude, towards things? How do I apply these lessons in ways that make sense and are going to have an impact on myself and others in the most positive, possible ways? That's what's kind of stood out for me about being involved with this. So,
and I think that has been a consistent theme. So to echo what you're saying, Todd, all around.
No, absolutely. So, Sai, what are your thoughts? Do you think we should just kind of go through the each of the workshops and talk a little bit about those? And maybe before we do that, we should note. So these are there is a charge for attending the workshops. And we're asking for $75 US per person to be involved. And the reason we're doing that is we're not getting rich on this. The idea is that we want to make these sustainable events over the long term. As we mentioned, we both volunteer our time for this. We both have our own businesses that we run, and we want it to be. We want this the value that we think that we're bringing to the marketplace around not just being inspired with new ideas, but learning how to apply them. We want that to be a regular offering in 2021 and beyond. So these events, which are all listed up on Eventbrite and are on the catalyzingthefuture.com website as well, that there's a charge for those, but we feel that it's a modest cost, it's worth it, and it helps support the presenters as well as helps us to sustain what goes from here on out. Is that fair to say? Is that accurate?
I think it's accurate, and we can even dig a little bit deeper. I mean, for people, as you look at this, we've been extremely transparent around this, and we will continue to be faithful to that, because this was not triggered by anything but, and not to minimize a human crisis, if you will. So that's key. And from those funds, exactly as you're saying, Todd, 50% is going to go to the speakers for contributing their time and their effort and their wisdom to the world. And it is very, very significant. So these are, respectfully, none of these folks are lightweights, if we can say that. And I'm a fan of boxing. So for those that do know me, by any stretch, these are extremely heavyweight players here. That's very, very key. The other 50% is going to cover costs, production, website, producers that we're hiring, and then whatever remains at the end of the year will go to a donated charity. So definitively, none of this goes into our pockets, and this really sets the stage for what comes next year in terms of continuing to work with the community, continuing to foster events, and most definitively micro workshops and what have you. So the model will continue and be refined as we move into next year, but very, very transparently, none of this is for profit. I can't remember if it was you or others have used the nomenclature. This has been a labor of love, if you will, that we've advanced. If I refine it and add to it, it's also a labor of duty for the human condition, quite honestly, and that's where the tenets emerged from, Todd.
I like that. I've definitely, I think I've been caught saying it's a labor of love. I have a tendency to fall into those kinds of labors, but as do you, I know. But I like the idea of a labor of duty as well. I think that you're right. I think we all have a duty to one another and to the places we live and the places we work, to get smarter about how we're engaging with the reality of our situations, and I really appreciate the language you've helped us formulate around all of this, as well as all of the great minds that have been participants in the events as well. So, what do you say we go down through the list of some of these events here? And I know you've got some thoughts about each of these, and I'm absolutely looking forward to them as well. Unless there was something else you wanted to add.
No, all good. Let's take a walk through, and you can really begin to see the logic, if you will, as to that's brought these together. And most definitely, we are very, very constrained and saddened, quite honestly, that we can't offer more immediately at this point. We're limited by the capacity of producers we have, etc. So if something isn't scheduled but is on the website and you're interested, let us know. Reach out to the providers. There's a lot of flexibility, and this will morph as we go, of course, between now and December. So maybe we'll just start walking through them, Todd, and then we can dive in a little bit deeper with each one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And just so people know, all of the events are listed on the catalyzingthefuture.com website. They are all listed on Eventbrite as well, where you can actually go and sign up and pay for the event. And they are, I'll say, mostly on Facebook the Facebook page for Catalyzing the Future. Had a little bit of a problem with the interface there, getting it to cross post those, but most of them are there. So in any case, your main place to sign up is going to be the Eventbrite website to go ahead and get your ticket.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So first up, Michele Wucker is going to do a workshop called "How to Gray Rhino Proof Your Organization."
Exactly. And, for those that are not necessarily familiar with the gray rhino concept, it's really about the obvious and neglected challenges. And she's really going to focus on, if you will, her approach to dealing with such things, and in particular how we go through the cycle of denial, muddling, diagnosing, if you will, panic, and then action. Extremely practical, extremely pragmatic. And the thing I really love about Michele's work in particular is not only has that a foundation for dealing with risk and what have you, but she's got a forthcoming book that's coming out in I can't remember what month, but in a few months in the next year, which this is a great opportunity to kind of get the foundation and then be ready for the next book. So I think it'll be a tremendous session that Michele's going to be offering, Todd.
And I had the opportunity on September the 30th to interview Michele, and you can catch that up on the live stream if you want a bit of a preview and hear in her own words how she talks about gray rhinos and that piece. I've read the Gray Rhino book. I've just actually been going back through the section on muddling, which is I think where we are in the U.S. with our response to the pandemic. We are deeply in a muddled state right now, but she's an amazing individual. I can't wait to hear more about her next book, and I think it's going to be a very useful sort of session.
Very well said. And she's also actually been part of the journey since day one. So she was the keynote speaker at the original event for leading, and then she's been consistent throughout. So very much a key partner throughout the journey.
Excellent.
So the next one we have is Tony Bendell, who's going to be actually talking about governance and how organizations really can think about their governance structure and their governance operation from a stress perspective, and especially in a pandemic state. So organizations that are truly looking at their governance constructs, do not miss Tony. He has tremendous wisdom, and he actually, I believe, offered 7 micro workshops. So it took a little bit of due diligence on all our parts to get down to this one that we really think can make a tremendous impact for organizations immediately today. So definitely don't miss Tony.
Yeah, Tony's a tremendous individual. I think it'll be good to hear what he has to say about governance and risk. So yeah, absolutely. Although his other workshops sound really interesting too. So hopefully we can get those scheduled as well.
Most definitely. I'm very, very eager to get some of the other ones, and this will be the first of surely many to come. And by all means, if you are interested in other ones, reach out to Tony, reach out to us, and we'll see what we can do. The next one is Amanda, if you will, and Amanda is likewise really looking at growing business, especially in the current conditions. And a lot of people, yes, survival is key, but you can't lose sight of also transitioning from a survival mode to a thriving mode. So she's really going to be focused on that, and her perspective. And I mentioned the anchor words that she's really going to be putting forward. Having clarity, focusing on priorities, resilience, agility, and strategic insight. Sort of a frame of reference to really deal with the reality at hand. So, by all means, again, Amanda Setili, one not to be missed, and that. Those 3 in particular, Todd, the way that they're organized, they are very business focused. So if your vantage point is business, definitely that's one path to consider for folks.
Absolutely. And Amanda is the author of Fearless Growth. She was another great participant and has been along with us on this journey. So you're sure to get some great direct actionable steps out of attending her workshop. Next up is Nigel Thurlow, sense making and weak signal detection. And I'm intrigued by this. Have you had any conversations with Nigel about this event?
Most definitely. And in particular, if you think about, we're all trying to make sense of the world. We're all trying to make sense of this notion of reality. And, we have catalyzing the future. And I know initial conversations were catalyzing reality. So very much this is tied into that concept. And as we're trying to make sense, Nigel's really going to focus on how do we make sense of the world around us, specifically based on detecting those weak signals and what may be forthcoming. So as much as we talk about foresight and anticipation, definitively, how do we channel those weak signals into our sense making today? So another one, do not miss Nigel. I mean, definitively, this was, again, a hard decision because I think he had offered 3 of them. So we landed on this one, and by all means, there's others that will be forthcoming from Nigel.
Absolutely, and Nigel was simply a brilliant moderator at the last event. I know his session was a very, very high value one. They were all great, but I think he was particularly good at kind of pushing answers and getting people to step out of themselves a little bit and offer some great ideas.
Exactly. And Nigel was actually at Transcending the Crisis event. Nigel was a panelist and then definitely a moderator, very much in the same vein yourself, Todd. You were a panelist on one of them and then definitively took on a broader role in the preceding one. So all good things there. Bill Joyner and Deborah Whitestone around leadership agility is another one. Definitely, if you know Bill and if you've read his book around leadership agility, this will definitively be an opportunity as a stepping stone to truly spend time with the gentleman, as well as really get more deeper insight into leadership agility. So that's another one that's very technology and business oriented, just very much in the same vein of Nigel. And likewise, the third one in that particular sequence is Barry O'Reilly and residuality theory, which is a very, very powerful concept. And if I say a little bit more about it without, if you will, respectfully stealing his thunder, he is really going to delve into how we progress, if you will, as a function of what's left over. So how do we achieve true resilience? By really thinking about progress in terms of a function of being what's left over. So kind of removing the things, removing what is potentially, if you will, negative, so that we can build that true resilience. Very, very, powerful concept and approach to resilience and anti-fragility. And he's written a good number of papers on it and continues to push the envelope there. So this is an opportunity to spend time with Barry, I would say respectfully, at ground zero of when the theory and the concept is emerging.
Barry's a brilliant guy. We talked to him. I know I had a chance to talk with him in one of the Catalyzing conversations, I think. You can check out that playlist if you haven't already. But yeah, the idea of residuality theory, I mean, that's as he was explaining to me, what that's about. I mean, I think any software architect, any software engineer would get a great deal of value out of that. But even if you're in the business community, I mean, I think his concepts and his approach to this are broadly applicable too. But really looking forward to that session.
And I have to say, Barry was likewise with us since day one, definitively on the original panels. And this whole group in particular is really uniting business and technology in a very formative way. Again, 2 of the core pillars that we've been talking about, Todd.
Absolutely. Next up in the lineup is Deborah Watring-Ellis, improving team mental health by re-engineering performance management. What do you know about that one, Sai?
So the next 3 in particular are also a very unified view from the human perspective. And if you take a look at what Deborah's offering, she really takes, if you will, the mental health perspective that we're all experiencing in one form or another today, really thinks about taking that and then bringing it together with caring, human connection for performance. So the thing I really like about her approach, and likewise Sarah's and Maria's here in a minute, is they take the human element in the context of business and really in the context of society. So it isn't a feel good exercise. I see a lot of things out there that are almost respectfully feel good, as I'll say, but this is definitively something that takes the human element and integrates it with the impact that we could have in the world. So very, very powerful session beginning with mental health there.
That sounds really excellent. And I know Deb is just an amazing individual. The work that she's doing with with mental health innovations is really important up in Canada, and looking forward to hearing what she has to say.
Very much so, very much so. And we had the pleasure of Stefan joining us for Transcending the Crisis as well as Catalyzing the Future. So, and I know she was busy at the time, so definitively very, very honored to have her, of course, offer this micro workshop. I'm going to jump over to Sarah's session.
Please.
If you will.
Yeah.
Sarah's been likewise, Sarah's been along for 2 events with us, and one of the key things that I really like about her approach is she calls it out. She takes a very human-centered business approach. So what does it mean for a business to be human-centered? And what does fragility now come into play from an organizational perspective and a workforce perspective? And what's the impact on the bottom line? So if we talk about mental health, with Deborah, definitively, as Sarah takes it, looks at the human element within the business world, looks at fragility, and looks at the impact on the bottom line. So that thread continues. So these folks didn't necessarily work together to create the threads, but you see them emerging in the way that we've tried to schedule this, Todd.
Absolutely. I do like the title of her session too, that it's no longer a nice to have, right? We hear so much of that in business speak. It'd be great if we did this, it'd be nice to have. But we're well beyond that. We need to incorporate this as something core to every business.
Yeah. And that is the key word that goes to Maria's session, core confidence. Because as you look at the mental health challenges and how that relates to performance, as we look at the human-centered business, and then the last one in the sequence is very much focused on core confidence, and Maria will help really enlighten us and really put practical tools in our hands to build that core confidence for dealing with an uncertain world. So definitively, we look at the broad theme of mental health, we look at the organization, we look at the individual and their core confidence in having an impact. So a very, very powerful thread on the human element. So, these were specifically organized in such a way that they can provide the most impact from our vantage point and what we can help these, leaders provide forward.
Yeah, really, really nice. I hadn't been involved with the organization of these. I know that was mostly your baby, Sai, and you kind of sharing with me the connection between the workshops is hugely helpful. Now that I see that you have them aligned thematically, that definitely helps somebody as they're thinking about what they want to take.
I appreciate that, my friend. I really do.
Yeah, very nice. So there are 3 more left. Are these 3 connected in some way as well?
Most definitely. So as we went from the first one that was really business oriented, then technology and business, and then the human, this one is very much a technology centric viewpoint that also spans into the other elements. In particular, I'll start with Jeremy. He's the first one. Jeremy, as I like to say, really takes a very, very powerful session around sort of the digital reality in which we find ourselves. How does that digital world and that digital reality relate to transformation and future proofing? If you kind of take that sequence, Todd, it really sets the stage with the technologies that we're using and the digital world that we're operating in, a digital reality, as I like to say, and all the way to how do we now leverage these technologies in anticipation of the future and really future proofing. So very key.
Sounds very worthwhile to spend some time doing. Yes, yeah, so it's titled "Digital Acceleration in a Post-Corona World: A Practical Guide." I like that very much.
Very much, and the bridge is transformation. I mean it's something that's very key. And when we go back to transcending the crisis, there were a number of sort of elements that we called out. In particular, we talked about randomness, we talked about uncertainty, we talked about risk, we talked about future proofing and being future ready. So you see this emerge in Jeremy's wisdom here. And likewise, how do you deal with complexity? That goes to the sense making that Nigel has, amongst other things. And definitively the ecosystem concept that we've really continued to flourish along the journey. So Jeremy's session, definitively, again, an incredible anchor. If you take that one and then really think about what David Cushman is offering, and David has continued to I'll say evolve the concept of responsive people and responsive organizations. So if you take the digital vantage point, what are the implications and how do we now help ourselves become even more responsive as individual people as well as organizations? And then how do we deal with context shocks? and how do we become change ready, if you will, and change resilient. So David takes those themes and continues to evolve them from the responsive organization perspective. Again, very powerful theme.
That's excellent. And then the final presenter that we have, or workshop runner, is Graham Banks, and his session is called "Transforming Your Outcomes by Reducing Unknowns." So what is that one about, Sai?
So that one, if you will, in a sense, completes the sequence really by looking at unknowns and says, how do I approach and transform those unknowns from three really vantage points? One is business, two is community, and three is initiatives. So if you look at that whole sequence of micro workshops, we go from the digital reality and really thinking about future proofing. We think about our responsive organizations and individuals and people. And again, David's is very much a sampler of a wider spectrum. So that's key. And then definitively, when we get to Graham's, it's really taking the unknowns from the business, community, and the initiative level. So if you're interested in technology, bridging to business again, and really starting with that digital reality, that is a sequence of workshops that will definitely be fulfilling.
I think it's going to be amazing, and as you know, I'm very excited about anything that involves conversations about community and how we can build stronger, more resilient, more anti-fragile communities as we go. So I'm sure he's going to have some wonderful things to say about that.
Most definitely. And Todd, I want to just mention a few of the other micro workshops that we have not been able to schedule, again, because of the constraints that we have. And this may shift based on where the interest of the community and the world is. And likewise, we may add more tracks of and I use that word somewhat loosely, but rather sequences of micro workshops that people have an interest in. And in particular, Graham had a number of offerings that he put out there. We have Heidi Denning that essentially offers, courageous self-leadership during times of change. Definitively would love to have the opportunity to schedule her likewise. And again, we're going to try to do more, but just I want to make sure that these are on people's radar. Chris Desmond is another incredible contributor, and his is "Don't be a hero, lead yourself and your team through challenge without burning out." So another one to really explore. Stephen Dunn, understanding the now for a stronger future. Ellen Grace Henson, what do your customers want? And that one, amongst, she's got another one as well around planning in turbulent times. And of course, collaboration and teams. Elena Maria Ivanshkina, if you will, she talks about personal branding. And that's another one that really is a powerful one, and also organizational culture and competitive advantage. So numerous ones out there. And again, I want to make sure I mention these at least, if you will. Alan Camus, bridging the say-do gap to accelerate business results. So very powerful around culture. Scott Lewis on CEO peer groups. Would love to get that one scheduled. Again, really thinking about potentially another set of offerings. David McLean with creating original thoughts, Richard Merrick around uncertainty and decisions that matter. Cyprian, if you will, Moga, likewise, he's got a number of offerings on agility and turbulence, and both at the individual level and broader, and measuring behavior change during change. And of course, we have Igor with Zero BS Anti-Fragility is his, a personal plan to become more anti-fragile. Another one that is powerful, Riek Petzold with Navigating Uncertainty. Again, these are all out there. Just want to make sure to mention some of them, Todd. So I appreciate your patience with letting me ramble just a bit.
No rambling at all, man. I think it's important that people know that there's a great variety of helpful practical information that's available in these workshops, so that there's more to come. And as soon as we can get things scheduled, and find the producers, to do these, we'd like to do more, because as you said, it's a duty. It's a duty that we have, and we're excited to be convening these conversations and facilitating all these great thinkers in one place.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Todd, let me mention a few more if you don't mind. Just
please.
again, some other powerful ones, if you will. Definitely Gary Sikic. I sought Gary out pretty critically because of his contributions around crisis and pandemics and what have you. A very, very vibrant writer and thinker. He's got a few. Are we missing the point of pandemic planning is one. Rethinking risk and uncertainty. Very, very eager to get him scheduled. He's definitively keyed it to really bring into the conversation. Walking on shifting sands is another one around global vulnerabilities. Another one which is very powerful. Andy or Andrea Simon, on the brink. And she essentially is extremely potent, and she's got a workshop. We've got Alok Sinha, growing in crisis and chaos, which again is listed out there. And as I mentioned, Nigel's got a number of them out there as well. So, other ones, definitely. I also want to mention Charlotte or Charlie Weinberg from the UK, One Foot in Front of the Other, Coping with Ourselves in Crisis. Very, very powerful session that she was going to do in partnership with Richard Lamb, that we would love to, again, continue to schedule. But the list is out there for people to visit, like we said, Todd, and we will continue to try to schedule others based on, the producers and the capabilities that we can, and the capacity that we can bring in.
Yeah, just an incredible array of people and opportunities to improve. And for anybody that's still has kind of stuck with us through this conversation, and maybe wondering, like, are these workshops right for me? Who are these for exactly? I think the audiences for these range quite a bit, from executive leaders to technologists to entrepreneurs to coaches. And even just to individuals who are looking to improve themselves. I think there's a lot that applies to some pretty broad swaths of people. Like, how do we improve our professional lives as well as our personal lives by applying some of the ideas and principles herein? And I think they're all very practical.
Very well said. Very well said. And at the end, very broad, full spectrum, top to bottom in organizations, every facet of personal and professional life. And like we said, really practical, really actionable, really impactful. And, we look forward to continuing to grow with the community. And I don't think any of us are the same person, right, that started at the beginning of 2020, to say the least.
That's for sure, man. That's for sure. So I think this is a great place to leave it. Any kind of closing thoughts? Anything that you want to remind people about?
I just want to say thank you for sticking with us, and thank you, Todd, especially for continuing to fuel the energy. Especially, I know when I've needed it, you've been there for me, and definitely appreciate it, man. So thank you.
The feeling is absolutely mutual, Sai. And I also wanted to express gratitude to the community that we've been building around this, for supporting the vision, the ideas, and the implementation of something that we are trying our utmost to make sure is useful for those who spend their hard-won time. Because I think there's a lot of networking event, virtual fatigue that's going on right now for folks. And so we recognize that people have a lot of different ways that they can spend their time and energy. We feel that we're trying to offer something that is definitively different and high value that people are going to want to follow in the long run. So thank you to everybody. And I'll just kind of leave it with go to catalyzingthefuture.com to get the full scoop on each one of these micro workshop events that are coming up. You can click from there to follow the Eventbrite listings for each of these events and sign up for anything that seems to be most relevant to you. We will be doing more of the Catalyzing the Future, catalyzing conversations, as well as probably some more updates around the individual workshops in the weeks ahead. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining us. If you have come across us for the first time, we would appreciate it very much if you would follow us on Facebook if you found us there, or subscribe to us on YouTube, and go ahead and click the little bell at the bottom so you can be notified of any new and upcoming videos. We mostly do live streams, So you'll want to be sure to click the notifications so that you can find out when we have something that's coming up. That's it for now. Thank you for joining us. Sai, as always, it's a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone.
All right. See you.